with Smartless, with Arrested Development, Ozark, you've been able to play in this very rich environment and have this crazy success. And I'm intrigued because every now and then I get to talk to people on this podcast who sort of they got to have their cake and eat it too. And you're one of those people who I think has had this lovely arc where you start as a child actor, which is not a promising start for many people. And it really doesn't work, to the point where there have been times where I thought, should they just make it illegal to be a child actor?
Or force them to go into secondary education. You know, like, I didn't.
How old were you when you got your first, you did a cereal
10.
commercial when you're 10?
Yeah. I mean, it was a very tangible, I don't remember a lot, but I do remember being really filled with anxiety about being able to continue to make a living in a business that I was pretty aware that it was tenuous at best, that it was
even as a kid.
Fickle. Yeah.
Even as a kid, I think you did Little House on the Prairie, some commercials, you're on Silver Spoons, and I could see kids having two reactions to that. One, oh, I've landed in Candyland. I'm in Oz. This is just amazing. But you had the emotional intelligence to be anxious about it and think, I don't know if this is going anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, and I apologize to any listeners that have heard me twat on about this before, but it was, my parents were my managers, and they were making more money doing that than what they were. My mom was a flight attendant for Pan Am. My dad was a freelance writer, director, producer. And, 15% of what I was making at that time just ended up being more than what they were making in their careers. And so it became an important component to our overhead. Yeah. Like we were living in a certain condo that we wouldn't be able to live in if they were just, using their salaries. And so you need a work permit to work as a little kid before you're 18. And that work permit is renewed every 6 months based on you maintaining a C average in school. And so the pressure on midterms and finals every year was immense for me because it was, 60% of your grade. And so studying for those and if I fail a midterm, I don't get my work permit, which means I'm kicked off the show, which means everyone on the show loses their job. We lose our house.
Right.
And plus I was also seeing just the churn of folks that were, hosting Saturday Night Live, 1 week, and then a year later you just never hear from them, or maybe even a few months. So like I was aware, I was consuming pop culture. So all of these sort of touch points of adult responsibility were really tangible for me, which is curious then why I didn't get my high school diploma. I didn't go to college. I just doubled down. And thankfully, I was still doing a show till I was about 21, 22, I think, called The Hogan Family. This was after Silver Spoons, after It's Your Move. And then when that ended, then there was like this arid plain of my 20s of employment. Like I'd get one job a year, and I'd kind of keep my head above water, but there was no cash cushion whatsoever because I was trying to catch up for all the time I'd lost being a kid too. So I was playing really hard in my 20s, and I'm flying all over the place and paying for my friends' tickets, and so I didn't have a lot of money at all. In fact, I was in debt by the time I was in my 30s, by the time Arrested Development came around. And I was really thinking at that point, so the acting thing isn't going to work for me anymore, kind of like used goods. Television comedy was going in the direction of single camera comedy. I was known for multi-camera comedy, in front of a live audience. And so I was just kind of damaged, and especially when I heard about Arrested Development, like here's a single camera comedy and it's kind of a mockumentary and it's Ron Howard's behind it. And like, they don't want my garbage on that. But managed to guess right and get that job, and it was embraced by the industry, and it was that huge reset button for me. But prior to that, I really, really was my 20s were it was not a comfortable period. I was really petrified about being able to support myself and have the rest of my career not be anticlimactic.
Yeah.
I thought about liquidating what little I did have, literally cashing out, and literally putting what cash I had in a duffel bag, driving to the Bradley terminal at LAX, looking up on that board, picking a city, and going and just kind of unplugging from this kind of not rat race, but competition. This, like every night's Entertainment Tonight. Who's doing great? Who's on your show? And I wasn't, and I had been. And so I thought, well, I don't want to continue playing at a game that I'm going to be, losing every single year. So why don't I go to like Tuscany and learn fucking, Italian, French, whatever, buy a coffee shop and just start over at the age of 25. I don't have a wife, don't have kids, have a bunch of friends, but let's go drink into more of those in Europe.
Right.
So I was very, very, getting it back to Arrested Development, that was a total paddles on the chest for me.
Do you ever think you blew it, that maybe you should have done that?
Yeah, exactly.
No, but I mean, I'm just seriously, this coffee shop thing.
Sounds nice.
It sounds like a good
for
coffee shop.
Starbucks.
Really nice.
Yeah. Well, whatever.
Le Starbucks.
Can't go back, I guess. Can't go back.